Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this because today we are dismantling a massive myth that is literally holding countless businesses back. I mean, you've probably seen it, right? Or maybe you've even lived it. Businesses dropping thousands, sometimes even millions on branding, only to completely fail to connect with anyone. And man, it is incredibly frustrating to pour your heart, your soul, and your hard-earned revenue into a brand only to hear absolute crickets. So let's figure out exactly why this happens and, more importantly, how we can fix it.
So, why do companies spend millions and still fail? Look, I hear this frustration all the time from entrepreneurs. They look at these massive corporate giants with bottomless marketing budgets, and they just think, well, I don't have the budget for that kind of branding. I can't compete. But here's the hard truth, and it's a real game changer. You are not failing because branding doesn't work, and you absolutely aren't failing because you lack the funds. You're failing because you're doing it fundamentally wrong. We've got to completely rewire how we think about what a brand actually is.
See, when people tell me they can't afford branding, they're almost always confusing true branding with surface-level decoration. And honestly, it's so easy to fall into this trap. Things like a fancy logo, a slick website, or a huge ad campaign, they're tangible. You can see them, you can touch them, and it feels like you're making real progress when you write that check. But that isn't branding. That is literally just the wrapping paper. Real branding, that is entirely about the intangible stuff. It's the impressions you leave, the everyday interactions you have, and the deep-seated identity of your company.
So, if the wrapping paper is what costs an absolute fortune, what is the true cost of real branding? It's $0. It is absolutely 100% free. I know, no way, right? That sounds impossible, especially if you've been quoted thousands for branding package recently. But stick with me here. Let me prove it to you.
Here is the simplest, most impactful definition of branding you are ever going to hear. Branding is the impression you leave in people's minds. Full stop. Every single tiny interaction someone has with your business is your actual brand. Just think about it for a second. How enthusiastically do you answer the phone? What's the tone of your emails when a customer has a complaint? How does your staff actually greet people walking through the front door? Even the exact words you use to reply to an Instagram comment. All of that leaves this indelible impression on the person on the other end. And perfecting those critical, everyday moments, that costs absolutely nothing.
Section 1. Building on sand. The agitation. What's really interesting about this next part is how it exposes a huge trap. The critical mistake so many businesses make is investing money way before they invest thought. They rush out, they hire a designer, or they build an expensive website before laying any kind of foundation. But before you spend a single dime, you have to answer these fundamental questions. Who are we? What do we stand for? Who are we for? And why on earth should anyone choose us over the competition? Listen, these aren't just cute philosophical thought experiments. They are the literal blueprints of your company. If you launch a massive ad campaign before you have crystal clear answers to those 4 questions, you're building your entire business on sand. You could throw $1 million at a beautifully designed campaign and it simply will not stick because there's no solid identity anchoring it down.
Section 2. The actionable playbook, 3 free pillars. Let's pull up a chair and figure out how to build this right. So here is your actual roadmap to fixing this, and it won't cost you a cent. Pillar 1, clarity of message. Pillar 2, consistency. And Pillar 3, your story. Mastering these 3 elements isn't just about being scrappy or saving your budget. This is the exact blueprint for how real, lasting empires are built. These are the tools the greatest companies in the world use to command absolute loyalty, and they are sitting right there at your disposal today.
Let's start with clarity. The golden rule here is incredibly simple, but brutal. If you can't explain your brand in one sentence, your customers can't either. You need to get crystal clear on exactly what you do, who you do it for, and what makes you different. Imagine your ideal client talking to a friend who desperately needs your services. If your client has to stumble through a confusing 5-minute explanation of what you actually do, well, you've already lost the referral. Word of mouth relies on simplicity. You have to own one clear, undeniably punchy sentence that anyone can remember and repeat for you. Right, so next up is consistency. Ask yourself this, are you showing up the exact same way everywhere? Consistency is completely free, but it's your absolute most powerful tool for building trust. We rely on predictability to feel safe, you know? You've got to show up with the same tone, the same values, and the same energy across the board. If you've got this super casual, fun vibe on a WhatsApp status, but then you're stiff, corporate, and totally disconnected in a face-to-face meeting, you just triggered a subconscious red flag for your customer. They don't know which version of you is the real one. Inconsistency destroys trust way faster than any competitor ever could.
And our third pillar is your story. Because here's the secret. People rarely buy products or services based purely on logic or a checklist of features. They buy stories. They buy emotion and identity. They are buying into why you started this journey in the first place, what you genuinely believe in, and the specific, painful problems you are solving for them. We are deeply wired for narrative. It's how we make sense of the world. Sharing your authentic story, the struggles, the turning points, the real reason you get out of bed to do this, that is the most powerful branding tool in your arsenal. And once again, it costs absolutely nothing to share it with the world.
Section 3, the $1 million difference. And this brilliantly illustrates the entire lesson.
The contrast between success and failure here is incredibly stark. Think about the world's most recognized brands. They didn't always have massive bottomless budgets. A lot of them started in garages or dorm rooms. But they started with a clear identity, a consistent presence, and a compelling story. They knew exactly who they were in their DNA before they spent a single coin on advertising. Generic businesses do the exact opposite. They try to buy a personality. They spend immense amounts of cash on expensive ads, fancy office spaces, and shiny logos just to look the part. But because there's no soul, no clear identity underneath all that gloss, people interact with them once and forget them 5 minutes later. That is the fundamental difference between true branding and just blindly burning cash.
If you take only one thing away from our explainer today, please let it be this. Branding doesn't start with a logo. It starts with a decision. It's a deep internal decision about who you are, who you serve, and what you stand for. You have to make that hard, focused decision first, and then everything else, your colors, your logo, your ad campaigns, will naturally follow. Branding only becomes an expensive, frustrating nightmare when you skip the hard thinking part and jump straight into the easy, expensive doing part.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative question to chew on today. Have you made your core decision yet, or are you just buying more expensive wrapping paper? Honestly, it might be time to take a step back, rethink your entire foundation, stop paying for empty decorations, and start building something truly powerful. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helps you shift your perspective, save your budget, and build a brand that actually leaves a lasting mark.